Hello folks, welcome to the show, welcome to the waterfront as they say in Monte Carlo. Beautiful weather in Wellington today. We're in the Group A afternoon qualifying time, official qualifying. We've had times from this morning. The man who was the quickest was Peter Brock in the 05 car, co-driving with Paul Radisich of New Zealand. They were 1:31.39, the quickest qualifiers. They've got the little tyre warmers on there at the moment. They were just ahead of Tony Longhurst and Neville Crichton in another Sierra. In fact, Sierras were the quickest three. We've just seen Dick Johnson out on the track trying to better Peter Brock's time. He had a clear lap. And these are the cars, this one in particular, that most people are picking to repeat last year's performance and to win. Roberto Ravaglia and Emanuele Pirro in the BMW M3, down substantially on horsepower, 250 horsepower down on the Sierras, but able to run at race pace all day, and in qualifying they are just a couple of seconds off the Sierra's pace. But they have such a superb driver combination, such a professionally run team, such a wonderful team manager, that nobody's prepared to write off their chances, even if they are off the outright pace in qualifying. Being, of course, a 4-hour or 500-kilometre race, the qualifying times don't count for that much. The idea is to get fairly well to the front of the grid, to be on the pace, and to have the car set up right to be able to race at that pace. And I think Trevor Crowe, probably it's going to be around 1:34 race pace.
Yes, I would think so. Because the track's a little different to last year, nobody's quite sure what the actual race laps are going to be. But I would think these guys will drop less off their best practice time, certainly, than any of the turbo cars, who we know do turn up the boost for practice.
Roberto Ravaglia, how is Emanuele going out there?
Well, very well, because just now I did 31.9, and I think with BMW is very good lap, because if you think that we are doing this lap, this practice with racing tire and now with the qualifier, and also we don't have a boost as Ford and Nissan. I mean, we are very happy about our performance at the moment.
I see Roberto, I see Emanuele running around with his lights on, warning slower traffic. Is the slower traffic a problem for you out there?
Yes, I started the beginning of the practice, and I try also to qualify, and then I leave the car, because in the beginning there was a lot of traffic. It was quite impossible. I mean, the main problem I think is the slow car like Honda and Toyota. They are too slow to compare with other cars, and it's really dangerous.
You made a lot of changes after this morning's session to suspension and what have you. Are all because of the changes to the track? Are last year's settings been obsoleted by the changes to the track?
Well, you mean that
you've had to change the suspension setup completely from last year?
Not really a lot. Well, we improve, of course, from last year in the car a little bit, but I can say that the car is similar to last year.
All the very best for the practice, Roberto.
Thanks.
David Oxton, that is a real worry. That is a big worry for the Sierra drivers. If they can qualify on race rubber 31.9, assuming that the race is run at high 33s or 34s, there's no question they're on the pace.
Never been any doubt that they would be, Tony, but let's face it, the wick's really out at the moment. The Nissan boys have just pulled a 31.9 out of the 2 car. That's Jimmy Richards, and so you know, the pace is really on. What we can really be sure of is, though, that these guys probably will drop the least of their pace when they go to the race. As you say, they don't have to trim down the boost. They probably are using a pretty soft race rubber tyre. Whether, in fact, it's not a Q tyre or not doesn't matter. But exciting stuff for the BMW Schnitzer team.
I think the good thing about this year's race is that we seem to have 3 equal contenders. We have the Nissan Skyline that's around 450 horsepower. We have these little BMW M3s at around 310 horsepower. And we have the Sierras with 550 odd horsepower at race trim. All of them seem to have a combination that makes them fairly equal. And I think that's great that we have 3 separate marks, all of which are going to be fairly well competitive. And it will come down in large part to how well their teams are run, how good their pit stops are, and how good the driver combination is.
Tony, just got to interrupt. We've got a time out for Dick Johnson on that lap that we were watching earlier. 1:31.3. Now that is faster than Brock's this morning time, but the times are coming down so quickly now, we don't know whether anyone else is getting down there. We haven't seen Brock's board yet, so certainly the pace is now in the low 31s, 1 minute 31 second, and that's the top Aussies at the moment are the ones that are battling it out.
Trevor Crowe, I know you were a little dubious about sticking your neck out in terms of a BMW's chances here. They're looking good at the moment, are they?
Yes, they're looking good, but I think the other thing you're overlooking here is that the Nissans don't normally turn the boost up to qualify, and I think they're going to run very close to their practice times, and everybody's saying the BMW will run the same sort of times. The Nissans will as well. They won't lose as much between their practice time and their race time as the Sierras do, and the Nissans are right there. There's a 31.9 and a 31.6, I think, on the two Nissans at the moment. That's right on the pace, and I'm quietly optimistic as well. I was talking to Jimmy Richards yesterday. He just had a bit of a grin and a good look in his eye, and I know Jimmy pretty well, and it looks quite good for them.
Interesting little BMW on your screen all the way from Sweden. That's the little red car of Fergan Anderson and his lady co-driver Netta Lindgren, co-driven by Gary Croft of New Zealand. Came virtually with no money to run the car at all. The story goes, went down the road to the local computer shop, said, would you like your name on my car? A deal was done, and now they're in the race. Literally enough money to pay their expenses and well at the front of the field, doing a good job in the top 10.
Robbie Francevic's car, which he'll be co-driving with Gianfranco Brancatelli. Francevic has been having some difficulty getting on the pace. Brancatelli, of course, being the pro he is right on the pace immediately. Robbie's a little out of practice at the moment, but expect him to rise to the occasion. They've been down just a little in terms of qualifying. They're at 1:33.58, which is about the BMW's pace of this morning. They've quickened it up slightly this afternoon.
Sorry, Tony, before we malign the Sierras for being unreliable, let's remember that they have won the street race before. The fabulous Eggenberger cars came 2 or 3 years ago and cleaned up, and so it is possible that they don't have problems. It's just that Wellington is merciless on these cars. It's really hard on brakes. It's really hard on suspension. Of course, it's really hard on drivers, and most of the damage occurs through those dreadful bumps, which we just had a good look at there on Schaefer's Road. The cars buck and jump, and it works the suspension so hard, things loosen off and steering joints become overworked. Very, very, very hard to make a car live through this Nissan Mobil 500.
Yeah, it looks very smooth from up here. I just looking now for you at the changes in the track. Up until that point, it's fairly similar. Here, it changes drastically. The entrance to the bridge has become almost a dead standstill in the hard left-hander, and the exit coming out of it, where that little kick sticks out there, has pushed most of them into the centre of the road. Several of the drivers, the overseas ones in particular, don't like it. They don't think that it has improved the track, but the one thing you can say for it is that it has given drivers an opportunity to pass. There are more overtaking spots on the front side, or the water side, of the shorter part of the circuit. Nothing has changed on the streets themselves. It's on the harbour side because of the redevelopment, where 2 little changes have occurred. Lap times are not greatly different. This part of the circuit here on the actual roads of Wellington is just the same as it was last year or the year before. That's where they quite often go straight ahead. A little hard on brakes with the bumpiness at the end of the circuit. Down here and approaching left-hander and then the right, both of which are fairly bumpy, particularly under brakes. And then back onto the waterfront. So there's the second of the Skyline cars.
That's the George Fury car at this point. It's obviously got 3 drivers. Just briefly touching on that, cross-entering is still on in this situation. So at this point, or should we say during the race, one of those drivers can jump from another. There's gentleman George Farmer from Talmalmo, as they call it, to Victoria, crossing now to John Cardwell.
George, how's it going out there?
Pretty well, thanks. Yeah, the car's going fine, and There's a lot of traffic about, so it's a bit of matter of luck whether you get a good lap in or not.
Is Fred, just tell tales out of school, is Fred trying to wind you guys up by not telling you who's going to be in which car?
Oh, I don't think so, no, it's just, that's Fred, you know, it's the same thing at Bathurst, so, but I think I know who's going with.
Okay, who's going with who then?
I can't tell you that.
Tell us about the circuit today. How is it compared to past years, George?
It's, of course, the track's been changed, but to me, it's not that different. Like, it's just as hard to get onto the bridge from the right-hand side as it was from the left-hand side. So, I guess the circuit's a bit slower than it was, but basically, it's just as good.
You're quite happy with the times you'll be turning out with the Nissan?
Yeah, very much so. I think it'll be a good race car. Obviously, we didn't expect to out-qualify the Sierras, but as far as the race car is concerned, we're quite happy.
You're going to be up there competitive against the Sierras and the BMWs?
Well, we believe so, and you'll see tomorrow.
Good on you, George. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
There really is an air of confidence about that team. You were saying before, Trevor Crowe, that Jimmy Richards has a bigger grin than you've ever seen him with before. I mean, Jim is so understated. You can often tell more from what he doesn't say than what he does. And certainly this year he has come out with a genuine grin and a feeling that he can do something here. Number 25 there, the Tony Longhurst, Neville Crichton car, the Ford Sierra. Another of the very quick qualifiers. They were second behind Peter Brock and Paul Radisich this morning in the session with a 1:31.53. Just a little look at how Steve Soper can get things wrong on that Bridgestone hairpin. Very, very easy to do when you're sitting on that sort of pace.
That car's been a little bit off the pace of the number 1 car, Tony. I've noticed that we're never really sure who's in the car in qualifying. That could be Pablo Giro or Steve Soper, but maybe that's the one that's the tortoise and the hare situation. They've got one out there as the rabbit, doing all the pacemaking and doing all the tyre testing for going fast, and they've probably got the other car out there doing all the race setup. They're probably very similarly matched as far as drivers and style, and car on screen will be Tony Longhurst at the wheel, I think, getting ready. Is he getting up for a warm-up? Do you think, Trevor, he's doing the customary gap collection and making sure that he's got some clear road before him?
It looks like it. He's just gone past the pits and he's going pretty slow, so if he was in trouble he'd have gone in. And they do need to get this gap these days on these tight circuits. It's just impossible to get a good time otherwise.
It's a challenge, this circuit. You can't make a mistake. I actually enjoy it as much as any other circuit we race on. It's a track you can be very, very aggressive. You can drive very, very hard, and it's a great place. I enjoy the race.
Tony Longhurst, and still trying to gather a gap there so that he can do what Dick Johnson did, allow enough space in front of him to get a clean lap without any traffic while the qualifiers will last. As David Oxton was saying earlier, qualifiers these days on something like a Sierra with that much horsepower on a day as warm as today are probably only good for 2 or 3 laps. So you've got to squeeze in the good one when you can get a clear space in front of you and when you feel the car is right and everything is set up, the handling, the brakes, everything's set to go. It's just the driver's got to get the brain in motion at the right time, get one fast, clean lap.
Qualifying is a specialised art, though, Tony. I mean, you talk to the guys about it. None of them actually really like it, but they accept that it's part of the competition. This big wind-on for one lap. These blokes like Revagli and Pirro, well, they're doing it all the time, and certainly racing in Europe, it's second nature. But this qualifying situation in New Zealand and Australia, where literally you wind on another 100 horsepower, peel on a set of sticky boots that just don't want to let the car go sideways at all, and literally you've got to then take advantage of corners like you've never done before. Now we've got some yellows out. Is that someone in the wall? Cautionary flags, the double yellows indicate serious danger, but it must have been cleared. Just going back to this qualifying situation, unless you take real advantage of those aids that you've been given, that is the sticky tyres and the extra horsepower, then you don't go any quicker. What you must do is leave that braking as late as you possibly can. use another 10 kilometers an hour around those corners, and then your stopwatch starts to come down.
Can I just explain that the way these tyres go off is they overheat, and then as they get hotter and hotter, they lose their grip, they just get slipperier, and that's why they only get one good lap out of them. 2 or 3 laps and they're too hot.
Now the pace car, rescue car, is out on the circuit, which is why the yellow flags were out, double yellows. We'll see if we can follow them round to the danger spot and find out what it is. It may have been cleared, but it's worth explaining at this stage that there are new regulations for this race this year that stipulate very clearly and absolutely that if there is a car on the circuit, it must be cleared. In the past, we have had where the car wasn't presenting an enormous danger and most of the drivers knew where it was left there if it was off the racing line. The international stewards have decreed that any car on the circuit this year must be cleared, which means that we may see the pace car out half a dozen times in the space of a day, because sure as eggs, somebody is going to crash. It looks like it may just be a circuit clear, but they've brought everyone in.
Well, just for viewers who've just joined us, the Wellington Street Races is on this weekend, of course. Nissan Mobil 500. First qualifying this morning saw this car, 05, Peter Brock and Paul Radicic as the pole sitters. However, this session, the pace has been even tougher, and probably, we can't say officially yet, but we probably believe the times have been bettered. We think that possibly Longhurst has gone under a 31, but certainly Manuel Piro has come down into the 31s from the high 33s. Now there's the problem. That's I think it's the McCalla Prince car, is it, Tony, from Wellington? It's a Commodore anyway.
Yeah, it is Warren McCalla, Alan Prince's car.
So in fact, if it's causing a problem, hello, Andrew Bagnall's involved here. Or is he? No, sorry, in the pits, Andrew.
That doesn't look like the pits to me.
I have to agree, Trevor. But is it the same corner as McCalla's car?
I think this is all to do with the new rule that there's not necessarily been an accident. I think they've just got to get these cars clear.
He is on the umbilical cord, look.
No, that's similar positions, but that's what we were explaining. You don't have to have crashed, you simply have to be immobilized, and the track must be cleared. So the pace car is going to be out.
Peter Brock, you look pretty happy and smiling when you got out of the car. Do you know what times you've done?
Yeah, 30.5. I sat in the pits and waited for the opposition to go a bit faster than what I had gone. When they did, it was very exciting stuff, because as I went out, Tony Longhurst was with me, and I towed him along, and he's second on the grid, so we dumped Dick Johnson back onto the second row. So it was very exciting last 10 minutes of practice.
So your intelligence tells you you've got the pole.
Not only my intelligence, my pit crew do.
That's what I was talking about. Peter, you've got a bit of a croaky voice, bit of, what do you got, sinus problem? You're getting the flu? What's the matter?
No sinus. I've just got a throat that's a victim of air-conditioned rooms. I'm not into air conditioning, I'm afraid. So it's a bit dry, but I'm feeling fine.
Okay, tell us about the practice. Trouble with slower cars, bumpy circuit, any problems?
Well, I think you've outlined pretty well most of the issues you have to abide by. It's a challenging experience out there. You come across a small car going through this new kink just before the start-finish line, and that can make a tremendous difference to your lap time. You don't know which side of the track you should go, to be honest. Very exciting stuff out there, and as usual, Wellington's going to create, I think, a very exciting race for everyone.
Peter Brock, congratulations on your pole, and good luck tomorrow.
Tony, I just got to pick up on that one. For once we've got him. He told me it wasn't air conditioning. He said he was talking too much at interviews.
Okay, we're on the Wellington waterfront. We've just seen the last official practice session. It appears, it is not official, but it appears that Peter Brock has pole with Tony Longhurst beside him on the first row of the grid, and Dickie Johnson perhaps relegated to the second row.
Coverage of
Lapper after a rolling start in the Fonda Saloons. The big tin tops, sports sedans, OSCAs, whatever you like to call them. And it is Wayne Huxford leading Roger Freeth. John Osborne in third place. Freeth having a great battle out front with Huxford. The Capri and the Starlet. And look at Freeth climbing all over him now. He's taken a couple of laps to get in the groove. He was quickest in qualifying by 4 seconds nearly. But Huxford has had some circuit time in the Group A car and has obviously learned it well. There are some places on this circuit, Trevor, where there's an obvious advantage to Freethy.
Yes, I guess under brakes he's got a lighter car and it's going to stop better. I think really Roger's probably been a bit surprised by Huxford's pace because in practice he wasn't this quick. But I know that Wayne had a couple of problems with the car and it's obvious that he's got those sorted now. So his practice times aren't really a true indication.
Wayne Huxford driving a pretty defensive line though, Trevor. Like, he's always on the inside of the turn approaching it, so he's not really into his fastest stride, is he? Roger Freeth's not allowing Wayne Huxford the luxury of getting his pace line worked out.
No, but I guess by the same token he's not letting Roger do his best lap times either because he's driving a pretty defensive race. But
Probably
it's pretty exciting, you know, these guys are really having a race out here.
Probably an indication of that is that Osmond's actually caught up some ground in third place while they battle. Huxford still leading Roger Freeth. Huxford in the Capri. Very old car now. And Roger Freeth in the Starlet.
So you can see the difference there. The Capri is getting away out of the corners because of the horsepower. Roger's picking up again under brakes. He's trying to get up the inside here. I doubt if he can make it. He can't. But wouldn't be surprised if before the end of the race he does, actually, because he's so close.
Certainly it's only going to take a minor mistake by Huxford, isn't it? Looking back further, there's Don Grindley, Willis, Lancaster, Francevic, and the Nissan 300, which Kane Scott is running, a new import. Hasn't had any practice time in it at all, went out for 2 laps. Don't expect him to be on the pace in the first race. But out front it is still Wayne Huxford leading Roger Freeth.
Well, Trevor will probably disagree with me, but there's an old saying, you can't beat cubic capacity. We've got 5 litres of Chevy here, trying to hold back 4 litres of old Pommy Rover.
Oh, the race isn't over yet, come on.
Well, Trevor, about now, we've got 5 laps to go and 4.5 laps to go in this Sports Sedan, or should we say now, the Lucas Thunder Saloon Series race. 4 laps, what do you reckon? Are they going to make it through to the 8 laps, do you reckon? I mean,
they're slightly sarcastic here. You're trying to suggest these cars aren't reliable, but they're getting very good. You know, over the last couple of years, Sports Sedans have really got their act together more. It's interesting that these 2 cars, one's a 4 litre, one is 6 litre, but how even they are is a good, you know, it's a credit to how they've worked out these rules. They have different weights for different horsepowers, and here you've got 2 pretty even cars because of it.
Tell you what, these guys are having a hell of a race out here too. I think Roger Freeth just overdid it a little back there and lost some ground. He's making it up again as Huxford smokes the tyres. Wayne Huxford, you may remember in this car in previous years it was black. He's repainted it.
He's also changed it a lot. He's actually cut a lot out of the back of the car, which he can do now with the new regulations, and lightened it considerably. That's helped it because it was a pretty heavy car before.
Just look at how far they've run away from the rest of the field, who are having a battle on their own. Grindley and Lancaster are having a battle. And that's the length of the straight they've run away in the space of 3.5 laps. This is hot pace out front.
4 laps to go now in the Lucas Thunder Saloon, and Wayne Huxford's allowing himself the luxury of some better approaches and angles of attack in these corners. So the pace is on now, the lap times have come down. We're looking at 1 minute 32 second laps, which is, while it's slower than their pole time, you can understand it when they're driving like this in such a competitive manner. They're trying to make sure, obviously Huxford does not want to give away this lead, and Roger Freeth knows he's got to stay that close to Wayne Huxford, try and force a mistake. Now, I think that's a little bit of engine smoke, isn't it, Tony, out the left-hand side of that Wayne Huxford car?
Well, these Thunder Saloons, I'm always reluctant to comment on whether it is engine smoke or some oil leaking onto an exhaust or tyre smoke.
You leave that to me, Tony, because obviously I seem to have it in for them, as Trevor will tell you.
Yes, you do have it in for them. I know you're a single-seater man at heart, but you've got to admit this is good racing. And look at this, they're side by side and have been virtually every time.
I will say he's got there, has he?
No.
I think what's more important is that we have a Wellingtonian leading a couple of Christchurch fellas.
Well,
Where are the Aucklanders
I don't think
gone?
Roger Freeth would like being called a Christchurch fella, but It's interesting. It is pretty New Zealand-wide, this race, isn't it?
Whatever the result, you can be sure these guys are loving this dice, because this is actually the closest I've ever seen well, the big cars, as we call them, the Thunder Saloons. I mean, any slightest misshift by Wayne Huxford there, Roger Freeth will be straight through and grab a first place off him.
Yes, I have a feeling that these two are probably amongst the best actual drivers in this field, and they're driving cleanly. They're able to race bumper to bumper without ploughing into each other. It's good stuff.
Robbie Francevic's parked it.
Well, actually, that car's supposed to be one that does do 8 laps, isn't it? I mean, that's one of the sort of what we call the high-tech cars. But these are the muscle cars. Look at them go now, sideways.
I noticed that their tyres are probably starting to go off with this pace. They're both getting a little more sideways as the race goes on. What happens is the rubber overheats, and eventually the car moves further and further sideways on the exit to the corners when they're trying to get the power down. That's a pretty good gap now that Wayne's got. I'm not sure why. I think maybe Roger is getting a little looser.
He actually did this a lap ago, didn't he?
Exactly the same thing.
Same place again, and he goes real wide there. Can't get round, and he's lost the ground again. Now that's going to take at least half a lap to try and make that up again, or a mistake from Huxford.
That looked like a missed gear shift to me. It was almost as if he just didn't have a 21.
I just saw a flash of the oil flag out there too. Obviously there's a little bit been spilled.
It's interesting. I know Roger's done a lot of work to the Starlet over since he bought it off me. He's changed the differential, he's changed the gearbox to a 5-speed. He was saying that the 5-speed here is much better than the 4-speed. He's got the right gear normally to get through these corners, where with the 4-speed he was in between 2 gears when he needed to be. He was pretty confident actually, and I'm a bit surprised to see him behind here.
Well, that slow car got in the way of Roger Freeth there. That's really given the incentive now to Wayne Huxford to get into his stride, take the attacking line and bring those times down. So Roger's got to fight harder. He's getting a bit untidy with some tail end stuff. He's lost the initiative to hold on to the back. Can he fight it back? He can only do it by driving really hard and standing on those brakes, working those tyres, and you can see it's real loose in the back now.
Oh, they're great to watch, these two. Both very talented drivers in these big muscle cars. Quite happy to race close, although they're not at the moment. Roger Freeth is going to have to do it all on the brakes again. He's certainly pushing hard at the end.
Yes, I think Wayne's tending to get it under control now. He's looking as if his car's more stable. It's certainly not sliding out as loosely as Wayne's car is on these corners. This is the best race I've seen with Sports and Ends for a long time, and you know, I think it means that later on when they have their series through January there'll be some exceptionally close racing.
2 laps to go now in the Lucas Thunder Saloon race, race 1. We'll have another race for these cars tomorrow on the main day for the Nissan Mobil 500. But this race currently being led, Wayne Huxford in the Ford Capri, Chev Powered Ford Capri, from Roger Freeth in the Mainfreight CRC 4-litre powered car, originally manufactured and race built by Trevor Crowe, our commentator today.
Actually, Huxford got balked just a little there by Nigel Hopgood. So it's given Roger Freeth a little chance to get some of the gap back up again.
Coming up to the checkered flag lap now. Race starter come finisher with the checkered flag out for the hard-working men of Thunder Saloons.
Just waiting for the back markers to come through. And expecting these two to come through, and they do, just meters apart. Great finish. What a super race. Very, very close in front. Huxford acknowledging Roger Freeth. What good racing in the Thunder Saloons. 8 laps of very hard charging, dicing at the front, and just leaving the rest of the field standing. Roger Freeth having to take 2nd place to Wayne Huxford this time. The crowd loving it up on their feet. The flag marshals honouring them as they wave them through. Wayne Huxford the winner. Roger Freeth 2nd, and John Osborne in 3rd place. And a distant 3rd at that. Well, that bodes well for some motor racing. If only you could have a 4-hour race that lasted that well, was raced that closely. I mean, it really is a different nature altogether, isn't it, when you get a nice little sprint race with big grunters like that.
Tony, Wayne Huxford's done pretty well. From what I understand, he had a pretty comprehensive shunt last week at Ruapuna Park. After the checkered flag, one of his competitors tried to rearrange the front of his car, so to speak, and he's had a lot of work just to even get here.
Yes, he had a big argument with the arm coat, these steel barriers, and they tore the front corner off the car. They rebuilt it this week. It's not quite as good as it was before. It's got a big hole in the radiator that they've had to weld up and a few other things, but obviously it was good enough to do the job here. It's interesting that the Nissan, which I'd expected to go pretty well, was fairly well back, but it's early days for that. That's an American-built car. And also the ex-Group A car, Robbie Francevic, so I really expected that to be on the pace, and we didn't see a lot of that either.
But I think it is going to be the case for the weekend, certainly in tomorrow's big race, that it will be a battle between these two again. Whether or not John Osborne can get close and some of the others down the field, perhaps Greg Lancaster, but it looks as though it will be a battle again between Huxford and Freeth.
The key, of course, to this race was the start. Now, Freeth, with such an advantage from his grid position or from his qualifying time, should have taken the initiative and blasted out of the gun. But probably, Trevor, the torque of the low-down grunt of the Huxford car just gave him enough, got the traction, got to the first corner first. The results might have been totally different had Roger Freeth allowed himself to get clean air and poke his nose in front at the start.
Yes, I think Wayne was quicker off the line, and that was the end of the story. But really, you know, you used to say that these things never finished races and they dropped oil and they blew up. Well, what do you say about that now?
Well, I reserve judgment, and we're only halfway through the weekend, and they've got plenty of time to live up to expectations tomorrow.
So Wayne Huxford coming in. We'll see if we can get a word with Wayne Huxford, and possibly with Roger Freeth as well. They do respect each other as drivers, and they're quite happy to race that closely. Johnny Osborne was the only other one that was really even close to being on the pace, and in the end he got left in third as well. So there were two races there. So we will in fact get a word with Roger Freeth down in the pits.
Roger, that was a tremendous dive. How you feel after that one? A bit shaky?
Yeah, I'm a bit worn out. Wayne makes it extremely hard around here. You know, qualifying time doesn't mean anything if you don't get into the first corner first, and Wayne's done enough racing to know where I can pass him and where I can't. So we were going 3 seconds a lap slower than our qualifying. So that's what happens when you're dicing, you know. There's just no way to get past him. I've got the power, and under brakes he's got enough that he can hold me out. I can get alongside him, but that's it.
He had too much horsepower for you?
Yeah, he's got power in a straight line, but Wayne's probably the best driver in the series that we're up against, so I think that counts for a lot as well.
Well, here's our man over here. Wayne, if we can get you over here. Congratulations, good drive.
Thank you very much.
Did you get a bit sick of seeing that fella filling your mirror all the time?
Yeah, I sure did. He's getting real close under braking.
You're looking a bit shaky on it. Was it that tense?
Well, yeah, it was actually, and I'm a bit buggered from driving the Group A Commodore. It's real hard work driving that thing, so the arms are a bit sore.
Is this what's going to happen through the rest of the season, through the summer season, you two at the front?
Well, I hope so, especially me.
Okay, it's 1-0 to you. What's going to happen from here on in, Roger?
Well, it's hard to say, because Wayne missed the first championship round last week when we won the first 2 heats, so, you know, this Lucas series is just a series within a series. We're after the national championship rather than that, so, you know, it's going to be close. Wayne's going to have to win every other round, and we won't be wanting to let him do that.
Great drive, fellas. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Two drivers featuring in that very close dice in the Thunder Saloons. Excellent to watch it was. Wayne Huxford and Roger Freeth. Huxford coming out on top that time. It might get reversed tomorrow in the second. Let's just take the opportunity now to have a word with some of the visiting and some of the resident Group A drivers who will be competing in the big event, the Nissan Mobil 500 tomorrow, to listen to their views on the circuit, why they like being here, what the magic is about the Wellington waterfront, and why they come back each year.
It's a challenger circuit. You can't make a mistake. I actually enjoy it as much as any other circuit we race on. It's a track you can be very, very aggressive. You can drive very, very hard, and it's a great place. I enjoy the race.
I love it. It's a little different everywhere else. You make a mistake and it's terminal, but as a driver's track, it's fantastic.
You know, a 500-kilometre race around Wellington, I think it's a matter of not making any mistakes and keeping going, and the guys doing a good job in the pits. And you have to have all the variables right to win this race.
I've been here 4 times and I've never won, so let's hope and keep our fingers crossed for this weekend.
This year they changed something. I just have done a lap around, walking around, and looks like they changed something, but it's not bad. I like the people can follow very well the race. It's very spectacular.
Normally aspirated cars come into their own at the circuit. Both the Holden and BMW will be very impressive around here, I'm sure, compared to, say, how they are at Pukekohe or at Bathurst or some of those wide open tracks. The Nissans are going to be very, very fast. I think reliability, good driving and slick pit work, is the combination of those is going to be required to win the race, not just a quick car.
The circuit suits the cars, even though the cars are underpowered by about 100 horsepower for the Sierras, the top Sierras. I think our cars will sort of last, but a bit more like the BMWs will.
I love the place. I enjoy street circuits, and over the years now this has become as important as any touring car race in the world.
Well, I like running here because it's unique. There's nowhere else really that we get to run at a place like this. It's interesting, it's fun, and that's what it's all about.
So that's what they think of the place. They love it. It's great to see them back again. This is not the biggest field we've ever seen for the Nissan Mobil 500, but it is at the top end probably the most competitive. There are 3 marques that are well in contention: the Nissan Skyline, the BMW M3 and the Ford Cosworth Sierra, but there are probably 7 or 8 teams there that are potential winners of the event. What you've got to do is still be going at the end of it. It's not just the quickest. So join us tomorrow for the Nissan Mobil 500 for 1989. I can assure you it will be an event worth watching. We're on air at 12 o'clock with some build-up, and the race start is at 1:45. In the meantime, we'll send you back to Avalon and Peter Williams. And racing in 5 classes. Commentating with us, Dougal Stevenson and David Oxton. And Dougal, I know that you're a fan of Porsches. Most of these as per off-the-shop floor, right?
Yes, they're allowed under the Bridgestone Championship regulations. They're allowed some modifications. In some cases, this merely means that you can take out the air conditioning unit and lighten the car to a particular standard. As you say, there are 5 classes, and so, in fact, during the race, there are 5 little races taking place over these 6 laps. There are 12 races in the Bridgestone Porsche Championship. They finish off at Pukekohe in March, and the points in these races are very hard fought.
Looking at the qualifying order, David Oxton, quite intriguing to look at the fastest lap time being 1:48.57. To put it in perspective, the Group A cars around the 1:30, 1:32 mark.
Well, Tony, of course, you hit it on the nail on the head before, saying they are virtually production street cars, and very, very quick street cars they are. I think the car that every boy would like to own at some time in his life. And these boys out there are allowed to play and have fun with them and go real quick for what basically is, as we know, a luxury touring car.
Looking at the front of the grid there, the qualifying order: Clive Pilkington in the 911 Carrera, 1:48.57. Number 10, Graham Cameron in the 944 Turbo, 1:49.35. Paul Van Dorsten in car number 14, the 930 Turbo, one of which hit the wall yesterday, 1:52.7. John Waring, number 30, in the Carrera RS, 1:51.19. And then Nigel Arkle in car 15, the 911, 2.7 at 1:51.90. So fairly close right up the front, and what it comes down to is driver ability when you have cars of such equal performance. And Dougal, we've seen in the past here that they're certainly not out for a Sunday drive, are they?
No, they're not. What started off as a sporting event and a sort of classic event some years ago has become really extremely competitive. And some of these guys have even been to drivers' schools at Wiesack and in Germany. And some contest this 12-race series every year, so they're getting pretty experienced.
30 seconds to go to the start of the Porsche race. 6 laps over this waterfront circuit. Race 5 in their Bridgestone Porsche Championship. Racing in 5 classes.
Keep your eye on Clive Pilkington. He's in car number 1. He won the series last year. He's upper class this year. Class A, very fast, very competitive, very well prepared.
14 that you just saw was Paul Van Dorsten, number 30, John Waring. Watch them as they race away from the start line up to this first corner. This will be your first chance to have a look at the new waterfront circuit which has changed in part substantially from last year.
As the very experienced Graham Cameron is 9.44, just getting squeezed out there. If he got a good jump at the start, he'd be a very hard man to beat, but he's running in there fourth.
The 944 Turbo, as Graham Cameron will tell you, has some slight handling advantages to various places on this course, but doesn't have quite the straight grunt of the Carrera or the 930 Turbo.
Ray Williams, who's also a very experienced driver, as you both will know, and in fact many of our viewers will know, has said that this really isn't a turbo circuit. A turbo Porsche, the 930 turbos have only 4 forward gears and they're 2 high gears.
Clive Pilkington straight ahead in the 911 Carrera. And he certainly was the hot contender, the quickest qualifier at 1:48.57. So his chance is gone of bringing it back in this race. You certainly can't afford to have an off like that and get back into it here.
Well, it does give you an indication, though, of the measure of competition. These boys are not really out for a Sunday drive.
Roger Anderson looks like he's pulled out the front now. Is that to be expected here, Dougal? That's a Class B car, and Rogers wasn't threatening the front of the row of the grid, but he's certainly now in control of the race.
Well, Roger Anderson has been a touring car champion, and he knows the tricks.
Just looking again at Clive Pilkington's little off there, just a simple straight ahead, unable to brake in time for the corner. Perhaps the brake's a little cold.
Well, we know a lot of the guys are having trouble with that corner in practice, Tony. The bumps are very bad there.
Yes, I'm sure a lot of the Group A drivers would like to be watching this just to see what difficulty people are having. The circuit, as we said, has changed. It doesn't look that greatly different, but if you get down there and drive around it, it is substantially different at 3 different places.
Roger Anderson is showing some real cornering class there. He pulled out over the bridge and pulled at least another 50 metres on the field.
Roger Anderson is actually in Class B, which he's leading with 62 points for the series, but he's probably a little far off to win the series overall, even with a spectacular drive.
Graham Cameron in 3rd place there, just picking up a place on that corner in the 944 Turbo. He's a very experienced and aggressive driver. Will be familiar to many fans as a driver of a Commodore in Group A trim of a couple of years ago. Now enjoys his racing much more because the budget, believe it or not, is not quite as high in a Porsche.
Well, they don't bring them very often, although there was that unfortunate accident yesterday that put out Dr. John Elliott.
So a great battle going on there between Paul Van Dorsten in the 930 Turbo and Graham Cameron, cars number 14 and 10. And those two battling are leaving a little bit of a gap up front there as Roger Anderson pulls away. Oh no, they've caught him again.
Well, Roger will be enjoying this being out in front. Got a keen sense of humour, and a very keen sense of competition.
No Billy Farmer this year, Dougal. I see last year we were rewarded with some real close racing at the front with Pilkington and Billy Farmer, but I believe Billy's just watching.
They were amazing how closely they battled.
Oh, yes. Well, Bill is a real car. Bill has shifted his work base to Auckland, and apparently his car's for sale, so he's wandering around in his shorts in the pits, and I bet he's missing out. Really
still that battle going on between Paul Van Dorsten, yeah, and Graham Cameron. You'll see there are places where the 944 can catch him up and other places where he just pulls away in the 930.
Of course, the big difference between a 944 and a 930 and a 911 is that the 911 is a rear-engine car, the 930 is a rear-engine car, the 944 front-engine car with a transaxle gearbox, and therefore, arguably, a better balanced car.
Cameron being pressured in 3rd place.
John Waring in the Carrera is now applying some rear-end pressure, as you say, on those two, and quite often what happens in close competition when two guys get into a scrap, it allows the next in line to make some. That was a close one. There was a bit of a touch of doors, I think, in the Porsche brigade there, Dougal. Now, you told me that wasn't on.
Well, it's not on because these doors in Porsches are very expensive, but it's a measure of the aggression that's out there at the moment.
Graham Cameron forces his way through to 2nd place, a little bit of late braking.
John Waring giving it everything, isn't he, in car 30 in that Carrera RS. I love the Carrera to look at. I think it's the nicest shape of all of the 911s.
Yes, that is a real classic light rod Carrera. They made them in 73, 74, and 77 again.
All this is allowing Roger Anderson to clear off a bit, though, isn't it, Dougal? While those three scrap and really take each other's lines and Cameron getting a bit untidy now. That we know that's not the way to get the best out of a Porsche, is it? They tell us in the rule book for driving Porsches fast, don't slide them.
Well, they always say, don't they, that 911s and 930 turbos are tricky handlers, and I think they mean by that they're tricky on the limit because they do have all that weight hanging over behind the rear wheels. I had a 911 once, a very much older one than this, and I didn't drive it quite so aggressively or as well. It was only tricky in the wet. I thought it was a spectacular road car in the dry.
But there is Roger Anderson, and that is the gap between he and Graham Cameron. Surprising, actually, that Cameron's not able to make more impression of him now that he's got clear of that scrap in second.
Well, this is very good for Roger Anderson. He has great ability, and of course he's in Class B. So arguably the Class A cars should be a little bit faster, but he's holding them out.
Might be an indication of things to come in the big Nissan Mobil race, where the BMWs, of course, are so far down on horsepower, but this is a handling circuit. It's very, very bumpy out there, more so than last year.
Although I was talking to a one-time Porsche owner in the shape of Roger Freeth, the very tall shape of Roger Freeth this morning, and Roger said that he thought the circuit was better than last year. In fact, smoother in parts and even a little faster. Or perhaps that's just the way he set up his car.
Certainly his car's quicker, isn't it?
Very. Oh, Roger Anderson just holding them out. Well, he's...
Cameron making no impression at all in the last lap or so.
Just over 2.5 laps, Tony, to go in this Bridgestone Porsche Challenge race, and Roger will probably look towards doing a fair bit of, what should we say, defensive driving now. He's obviously given away a bit of ground in this lap. And there's certain areas of advantage for each car, and probably this is where Anderson should make some ground up. He's got some...
Well, Graham Cameron's getting very aggressive now. He's saying, what's a Class B car doing in front of me? I can't take this. I'm going to get it.
Well, he's certainly set out with the challenge now, hasn't he? I mean, that gap stayed consistent until half a lap ago. He's made up the gap. He's there close enough to challenge to do something about it now.
One thing about Roger Anderson's car is, beautiful as it is, it's down on horsepower compared to Graham Cameron's 944 turbo, down about 40 brake horse. It makes Roger's effort even more admirable.
Well, Anderson's certainly got a breather coming over that, what we all call the old bridge, but under the peanut slab bridge, over bridge, and by the time they get down to Bridgestone hairpin, of course, Cameron's climbing all over again, but giving it away with a sideways sort of exit speed. Exiting with too much throttle or getting a bit keen. Anderson pulls out another 50 metres again.
This is a classic drive from Roger Anderson.
Right from the front all the time. Look how far they've... This might give us an indication just how far they have left the rest of the field behind. It's of course a pity because we can't see the rest of them. They are fighting it out in the 5 classes. There are some very good drivers.
No shortage of tyre smoke there at the end of that straight.
That's an unusual approach to Bridgestone. Probably doesn't help you to get through it quickly. Slows the following traffic though, but that's...
I think it was all over before he got there, wasn't it?
Kevin Woods from Christchurch in the 911.
Good to see some people up from Christchurch.
Meanwhile, Cameron has got past Anderson.
Oh!
And they've taken each other out.
Wow, traffic jam at the turn there. Who's going first?
3-point turn, and Cameron's going to get away quicker, but the leader has gone right by him. And the two of them are away again. So now go to John Waring. Car 30 the leader. What a place to have it happen. Now it looks certainly as though Graham Cameron was getting very, very aggressive and starting to lose the tail a little, and the two of them did it all wrong.
I bet there's some choice words in those cockpits. It won't be lettuce and silk scarves anymore, Dougal.
You'll be reaching for your checkbook somewhere.
Cameron having got the lead. Just. Well, we'll leave it to the experts to allocate blame, but the onus is always on the overtaking driver.
Well, that, of course, brings us into the last lap of the 6-lap Bridgestone Porsche Challenge race. It should be all John Waring's race. No chance that they will close in.
There's this Paul Van Dorsten coming in behind, is it? But he's...
Well, in fact, Graham Cameron's got back to second. If we read that right, how would he get past so easily? Anyway, John Waring in the Carrera easily leading the race now. Short of a mistake, he can't be robbed of this victory.
Certainly the right place for a lucky break at the right time when those two tangled in the lead. John Waring taking over in the Carrera RS, and now with a substantial lead.
It's a fortuitous lead. John will take the advantage of it, of course, but I imagine he's feeling a little pang for Roger Anderson and Graham Cameron. I mean, we don't like to touch in this sort of racing, but it is a measure of their racing ability and their aggression, too, that they do from time to time.
They still sound good, don't they?
Yes, they have that characteristic flat six sound. Bit of breeze out there today will help the cooling. Oh, he's got it all to himself now.
In the end, it's become simple, and I'm sure he didn't believe it would be that easy. He had a battle on his hands earlier on to get past third place.
But I thought he was quite skillful to avoid Graham Cameron and Roger Anderson in that situation, coming around the corner. He could easily have contributed to the pile-up by adding another car.
Yes, he did well, didn't he? Because it happened
Very
very
well.
quickly in front of him. With two of them, they could easily have blocked the circuit.
A couple hundred metres for John Waring to the flag.
And more points on the board for John Waring in the Carrera RS.
Well, those are valuable points for him. He's running 39 points so far in this series. This was the 5th race. Still 7 to go.
Not bad for a 1973 car, is it?
Not at all. But remember, that was a sort of specialist sportsman's car, a lightweight 911 of real ability. And he's done a lot to it, too.
Graham Cameron having to settle in the end for second place.
Slightly scarred second place.
So that's the official order of finish. John Waring in the Carrera RS, Roger Anderson in the Carrera second, and Graham Cameron relegated to third.
The heat is coming on. It's feeling like the summer. Can hear the tension building. Oh, it's loud and it's hot and it's strong. All eyes are on the harbor. We're ready for a good time. The capital is waiting. Both the day and the night here is long. The city is awake now. As it takes on the power of the drive, you keep the music playing over and over again. The 500's here on the waterfront, screaming round the pier. On the waterfront, event of the year. On the waterfront, Wellington's alive. Hey! Coming on the highway, coming from the sky. They come and cross the water to the city where summer's alive. This is the weekend, the street race we've been waiting for. If you're looking for the action, the capital's got all the drive. This is the time, this is the place, this is the weekend, and we've got the race. We've got the sunshine, and we've got the good times over and over again. The 500's here on the waterfront, screaming round the pier. On the waterfront, event of the year. On the waterfront, Wellington's alive. sunshine, and we've got the good times over and over and over and over again.
Coverage of the 1989 Nissan Mobil 500 is presented by Television One, Nissan and Mobil.
We'll even have a jet cam inside one just to show you all the funny angles. Well, we've had a lot of fun on the waterfront today. We've had official qualifying and time practice for all classes, one of which was the celebrities for a celebrity race tomorrow. Now, just have a look at what these people do with machinery that isn't even their own.
Rod Dixon, I'm just looking at that ding on the side of your car here. How did that happen?
Well, I was leading down into the Bankcard corner, and Hamish tried to come in through a gap that wasn't there, and he hit me and spun me around.
So you're blaming somebody else for this, are you?
No, I blame myself.
Fantastic feeling. It's really good.
It's good fun. Do you think you might like to try this a bit seriously?
Well, I'll try tomorrow. I'll see how I go tomorrow. I might write it off tomorrow, then there'll be all sorts of problems.
Hey, and that's just practice. What's going to happen when the flag drops? That's a celebrity race. Watch out for that tomorrow. As I said, we've had official practice all day here on the waterfront. And in the big race, the Nissan Mobil 500, it's that man again who's got pole. Peter Perfect. Peter Brock has put his Sierra Cosworth on pole with a time of 1:30.46. Go back then to Longhurst and Crichton with 1:37.1. Then Johnson and Bow, 1:30.70. 1:31.70, should I say. Then Richards and Scape, Jones and Noski, Percy and Fury, Ravalia and Pirro, who are the race favourites, Transovic and Brancatelli, and Sopa and Giroir. We'll be back with race build-up at 12 o'clock tomorrow, 12 noon. And, of course, the race starts at 1:45. Join us then. Back to you, Peter.
All right, thanks, Tony. I look forward to joining you down.
Up front again. Preethy's got out there first. Where's Huxford? Roger Freeth out on his own. Huxford's got a bad start. It looks like he's out. Well, he's getting around the corner, but gone is our battle, the two-way battle we saw yesterday. And it'll be Roger Freeth to lead them round. We might see the Nissan 300 of Kane Scott's coming up through the field this time too. Qualified well. There is Huxford.
That's a big shame, Tony, because yesterday these two had a wonderful battle. It was really just door to door the whole race, and we were really looking forward to seeing that again. Roger probably now is going to have a pretty easy time of it. He's had the car really well sorted for here, and he's just going to get up and run away, unfortunately.
So Roger Freeth out to a comfortable lead already. Looks like Osborne behind him, and then Kane Scott.
John Osborne's actually going very well. He's put a lot of effort into this race. He's rebuilt his motor. He's got a lot of new parts in it. He's fairly hyped up for it, but somehow his big car doesn't seem to suit the circuit quite as much as Roger Freeth. Freeth's got his arm out the window, which is a little unusual.
Quite sure what that signal is.
He's got trouble. Goodness me, we've lost the two quickest cars in the first lap. What a shame. Puts John Osborne in a very good position.
Well, I hate to say something to you, Trevor, but I mean, I have to remind you that yesterday I said we were only halfway through a full contest, and, well, they haven't even managed a lap. They've even broken their own good record. Usually they manage half a race.
So it's John Osborne from Kane Scott and Brent Willis at the moment. Then go back to Robbie Francovic.
Yes, you're right, David. The old hand grenade description of these cars seems to be coming back to haunt them, but really this season they have looked good. They have really been much more professional.
Well, that's fine. We can recreate the interest because John Osborne out front, who had an excellent race yesterday in third place, is now going to be challenged by this very, very hot car that they've had very little time to sort, the 300 ZX, right in his mirrors there, and he's in a battle with Brett Willis.
Yes, I think the thing about the Nissan is they've had very little practice in the car, and I think even as the race goes on, he'll get quicker and quicker as he comes to terms with the car and with the circuit. I think the car arrived something like a week ago, and they've virtually untouched it since the way it ran in America.
So Roger Freed, it'll be a very disappointed man now. The only consolation he has is knowing that Huxford went out before he did. These two, as we've said, battled door to door yesterday. So now Johnny Osborne out on the lead, being chased by Kane Scott in the big Nissan. Just look at that gap. It's actually, Osborne has just pulled out a little more in the last half lap or so.
Well, these sprint races, of course, don't allow any pit work to be successful. Just literally, you can't stop at all. 8 laps, it's just no contest. The bonnet on that car of John Osborne's is flapping. Is that really by design, Trevor, or is it just a bit sort of, you know, a bit weak today?
Well, I could tell you that he's got it that way to let the air out from under the bonnet, but I noticed he had it that way in practice yesterday. It seemed to last the practice, so I don't think it's going to worry him.
That's got to be about one of the wildest Mazdas in the world. I'm sure when the Mazda drag comes on TV and we look at MX-5s and RX-3s, I bet Rod Millen never planned on seeing a car like that.
No, it's actually got a 364 cubic inch Chev in it, which relates to a lot of horsepower, and it's probably a little heavier than, for instance, Roger Freed's car, so on these bumpy circuits he's at a slight disadvantage. On the open circuits, of course, it's a lot more able to stretch its legs.
And those of us still thinking in imperial measures, somewhere around 6 litre.
It's a multi-million-dollar black market business with ties to drug dealers and death threats.
It's power poaching, the wholesale theft of one of New Zealand's valuable resources. Frontline investigates tonight, 6:30 on 1.
Like my family, I love the taste of Weet-Bix, but these days I need lots more bran. Well, most bran cereals have the extra fibre I need, but not the taste I like. Now there's new Weet-Bix High Bran, boosted with lots of crunchy bran. High Bran has really great taste, just like Weet-Bix, plus 2 dessert spoons of crunchy bran in every biscuit.
New Weet-Bix High Bran. It's the tastiest way to eat bran.
It's the only way to eat bran.
At Motown, meet Harry. He's quiet, very strong, picks up long wet grass without blocking, superbly Italian engineered. Harry's competitively priced and exclusive to Motown. With Motown's bulk buying, you get Kaz professional brush cutters, line and hedge trimmers, Kaz power pruners, all at domestic prices. Motown have just the gear for bigger lawns, white garden tractors and mowers, packed with features. There's one of these award winners for every great garden. White, Kaz and Harry from Motown nationwide.
MTA gift vouchers make the perfect present for everyone. And every week until Christmas, 50 lucky people will have their vouchers doubled, which is a lot of vouchers. So look out for the perfect present in service stations everywhere.
Now, Ford Laser shoots down interest rates as low as 8.9% over 36 months. Come in to your Ford dealer now and see why there's such great interest in Laser.
Hello, Armstrong, painter.
Hello, this is Dorothy Campbell.
Having a cellular phone means you're on the Telecom cellular network. And even here, business can keep walking in the door because you're in touch with the people you need and the people who need you.
You've got a very nice view up here.
How's Tuesday?
That'll be lovely.
Dorothy? Yeah? Watch your step on the way down.
Telecom cellular network. You're always in business.
Look at how much Kane Scott's getting a tail slewed in this thing. It's great to watch. It's obviously going to have the horsepower as the season goes on and he gets a chance to develop it.
Probably means that they haven't got the car quite set up the way they want, because really you want to be able to put your foot down pretty early and not have the car slide out like that.
Oh, don't take all the pleasure away from the spectators.
Sorry about that.
So what do the OSCA supporters think of having hairdryers in the formula now, Trevor? Like, turbos is just not your language. They've got to have 6 litres and sort of 10 carburetors before they're really accepted down south, haven't they?
Yes, that's right. OSCA's been going for about 15 years, and that's John Osborne's car is really based on an OSCA car. And they don't tend to run turbochargers because they get quite heavy penalties for that.
So the order of the race, still John Osborne from Kane Scott, Brett Willis, Robbie Francevic and Greg Lancaster, then Don Grindley. John Osborne having it all his own way. And we'll get a word with the man who should have been at the front of this race. It was very, very briefly till he went out on lap 1, Roger Freed.
Okay, Roger, what happened out there?
It appears as though an oil pump drive belt's broken. I don't know, it might have picked up a stone and got caught in the pulley and it's broken the belt and we've lost oil pressure. So, you know, we've got to pull out in that circumstance. It's killed the motor.
What happened to Wayne? Did you see what happened to him?
No,